Sterile, cold, air hung heavy inside the ultra-modern CA Radiac operating suite of Manhattan's premier private medical center. Bright clinical lights blaze down from ceiling panels, washing every surface in hot RSH, unyielding white. I lay secured on the stainless steel surgical table, my torso prepped for emergency open HEA-RT surgery. Sterile drapes par route, exactly where the life-saving incision would soon be made. Thin, flexible four lines tethered my ARMS to the medical bay, pushing stabilizing medication through my veins to slow my rapidly deteriorating CA Radiac rhythm. A HEA-RT monitor beeped in unstable, faltering intervals, each broken tone a clear or warning that my body was shutting down. The lead CA Radiac surgeon stood at my side, GLVED hands clenched at his waist, his entire surgical team poised and ready to commence the high-risk operation. Every medical protocol had been finalized days in advance. Every test scan, every risk assessment, every PRE surgery clearance had been signed and filed. Only one final legal step remained to initiate the procedure. The signature of my sole biological heir, my son, Jackson Reed, for 28 years, I had built and sacrificed and provided. I had laid the foundation for every comfort, every opportunity, every luxury Jackson had ever possessed. I had hidden my true global business legacy for decades, choosing to live as a modest, retired financial consultant to spare him the crushing weight of empire responsibility. I had let him believe our family wealth was modest, that his life was his own shape without my influence. I had borne the burden of my chronic HEA-RT disease in silence for 2 years, never draining his youth with my suffering. Today, on the day my life hung in the balance, he chose his new family over mine, that the operating theater doors slammed open with brutal suddenness. Jackson stormed in, his designer suit pristine, his hair styled to perfection, his face twisted with impatient disdain. He did not glance at my vulnerable, immobilized form on the surgical table. He did not acknowledge the waiting medical team, nor did he register the desperate pulse of the monitor tracking my failing HEA-RT. His phone buzzed repeatedly in his hand, and his attention remained fixed on a series of family group messages. Mr. Reed, the surgeon said in a tight, urgency-laced tone, extending the final surgical consent folder for RD. We have a 15-minute window to begin operation. Without your signature, we cannot proceed. Your father will not survive the next 24 hours without this surgery. Jackson's head snapped up, his eyes cold and uncurring. He flung the consent folder back while RD, the paper scattering across the stainless steel counter, the signature pen clattering to the tiled floor. His movements were sharp, aggressive, and unapologetic. I'm not signing anything, he announced loud enough for every staff member to hear. My wife's family called an emergency private dinner to welcome me into their official family circle. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to solidify my standing in their social circle. I can't miss it for a surgery that can be rescheduled. A bitter, icy stillness settled in my chest, sharper than the organic pain of my failing HEA-RT. I lifted my head faintly, my voice RSE and thin from poor blood circulation, every syllable a deliberate effort. This cannot be rescheduled, Jackson. This is life or death. I am your father. HIS laugh was shallow, arrogant, and cutting. He leaned over the table, his shadow falling across my face, his expression oozing contempt. You're just an old man with a sick HEA-RT who lives alone in a small suburban house, he snapped. My wife's family gives me status, connection, and a real future. They're my new family now. You're just a relic from my past, a burden I no longer need to see a RRY. Every medical professional in the room froze in disbelief. Nurses exchanged horrified glances. The surgeon's jaw tightened, his professional composure fracturing at the unprecedented cruelty of a son abandoning his dying father for social standing. I lay completely still, No rage flashing in my eyes, no TRS forming. Decades of hiding my global empire, of navigating high-stakes betrayals and corporate WRS, had forged my emotions into unbreakable calm. I watched my son turn his back on my life with casual, unthinking cruelty, and every last trace of fatherly affection dried up completely. That Jackson straightened his suit jacket, prep a ring to walk out and leave me to die on the sterile table. Don't look at me like that. You taught me to choose future over sentiment. I'm just living by your own rules. If you die here today, I'll inherit what little you have and move on with my new family. His hand wrapped around the operating theater door handle. Before he could push through, the heavy metal doors swung INWARD with a slow, deliberate force. A single woman stepped across the threshold, her footsteps soundless and steady against the tile. Ella R.A. Voss, Jackson's ex-fiancée, the woman he had cheated on and abandoned 6 months prior to Ma RRY into his high-social new family. She dressed in a Shaw RP, tailored black blazer and slim trousers, her dark hair pulled into a severe, professional bun. In her right hand, she held a sealed, white legal envelope, stamped with official notary seals and state court certification. Her face was completely unemotional, her gaze Shaw RP, focused and unwavering as she stepped past a stunned Jackson and stopped directly beside my surgical table. Jackson spun around instantly, his face flushing with fury and embarrassment at the unexpected intrusion. His carefully cultivated calm shattered as he glanced at Ella R.A., his voice rising in Shaw RP. Angry tones at Ella R.A.? What the hell are you doing here? This is a restricted medical suite. You have no right to be in this room. Leave now before I call security and have you removed for trespassing. LARA ignored his outburst entirely. She did not him a single glance, her full attention fixed on my dying form. She placed the sealed legal envelope gently on the sterile medical counter beside my table, her fingertips brushing the notary stamps that made every word inside irrevocable and legally binding. I am here on official trustee business, she stated, her voice clear, flat, and authoritative, cutting through the tense silence of the theater. I hold a fully notarized, court-certified amendment to the Reed family testament and estate trust, drafted and filed 3 months prior to today's procedure. Jackson laughed a loud, disbelieving laugh, attempting to regain his shattered composure in front of the medical staff. He stepped forward RD, reaching to grab the envelope and discard it as a petty, jealous gag. You're just bitter I left you for a better life. He SNARLED. This is some sad, petty revenge scheme to harass me in front of these doctors. You wasted your time. My father's estate belongs to me by blood. No stupid pieces of paper from a spurned ex-fiancée will change that. Ra's hand shot up, blocking his wrist with a fast, precise motion. Her grip was firm, unyielding, no trace of the gentlewoman Jackson had once dated. Her eyes locked on his, cold and unfaltering, stripped of every past emotion or regret. This is not revenge. This is legal execution. She corrected him, Shaw RPLY. I am not here as your ex-fiancée. I am here as the court-appointed trustee of your father's personal and corporate estate, granted full power of attorney for all medical and financial emergencies. The smile vanished completely from Jackson's face. A first flicker of unease flashed across his features, though he still clung to his arrogant confidence. He glanced back at me, expecting to see weakness or sentiment, expecting me to overrule whatever legal maneuver Ella R.A. claimed to hold. I remained completely silent, my gaze still and unreadable. I had authorized every part of this protocol months ago when I first witnessed Jackson obsess over his new family and dismiss my existence as an inconvenience. I had hoped for redemption. Today, he had erased that hope completely. LARA pushed the sealed envelope forward RD, positioning it for the medical staff to see the official court markings. The document states CLEA that any biological heir who willfully abandons the prima re-trust holder during a life-threatening medical emergency in favor of external family or social obligations shall face immediate and permanent disinheritance. All blood rights, asset claims, inheritance entitlements, and family legacy status are fully and irrevocably revoked. The monitor's faltering beeps seemed louder in the sudden, dead silence that followed. Every nurse and surgeon in the room stood transfixed, witnessing a family betrayal and legal overthrow unfolding in real time. Jackson stumbled back a step, his arrogance cracking at the edges. That's impossible. He would never disinherit me. I'm his only son, his only family. You cease being his family the second you chose a new family over his survival, LRA replied without hesitation. The document requires 2 final verifications to take full effect: verbal confirmation from the trust holder and witness signatures from 3 licensed medical professionals present for the betrayal. She turned to RD, the surgical team, her tone formal and legally precise. Do you 3 confirm you witnessed Jackson Reed refuse life-saving surgical authorization in order to attend a social family dinner with his spouse's relatives? The lead surgeon nodded immediately. The 2 senior nurses followed suit, their expressions grave and unwavering. They had seen the cruelty firsthand, and they held no sympathy for the selfish heir standing before them. LAR, I turned back to my table, leaning down slightly to meet my eyes, her voice steady and respectful. Sir, do you affirm the abandonment and authorize full execution of the disinheritance amendment? My voice was low, weakened by my condition, but absolutely firm and unwavering. Every syllable ride finality, no hesitation, no remorse, no mercy. I affirm. Execute the amendment in full. The second my verbal confirmation left my lips, LRA opened the sealed envelope and laid the full Notarized document across the sterile counter. She grabbed a medical pen and extended it to RD, the 3 witnesses, who stepped forward. RD one by one assigned their official verifications. Each signature buried Jackson's future deeper, sealing his fate with irrefutable legal weight. Jackson's face drained of all color. His casual confidence vanished entirely, replaced by raw, uncontrolled panic. He lunged forward. RD, hands outstretched in a desperate attempt to swat the document away. His relier arrogance reduced to frantic fear. Stop. All of you stop right now. He shouted, his voice cracking with hysteria. This is a mistake. I didn't mean it. I can reschedule the dinner. I can stay here and sign the papers. Just reverse this before it's too late. LARA stepped in front of the document, blocking his path completely. Her posture was calm, disciplined, unmoved by his tantrum. She tapped the signed and stamped amendment with 1 finger, her tone cold and final. It is already too late. The witnesses have signed. The principal has confirmed. The amendment is fully legally binding and immediately enforced. She began reciting the official enforcement terms in a RP. Clea, our voice, letting every word land like a verdict in front of the entire room, effective instantly. Jackson Reed is permanently disinherited. All trust fund allocations, real estate deeds, corporate benefits, financial endowments, and family asset rights are fully revoked. No future claim, no legal appeal, no financial remedy will be permitted. Jackson stumbled back, his shoulders slumping, his body trembling with disbelief. He had spent months distancing himself from me, boasting about his new family's superior status, treating my life and my sacrifices as a worthless burden. He had believed my wealth and my legacy would wait patiently for him to claim whenever he saw fit. You can't do this to me, he whispered, his voice hollow and broken. I'm your son, your only son. You spent my entire life building this for me. I built it for loyalty and gratitude, I replied, my tone still low and restrained. No bitterness, only unalterable fact. You traded that legacy for a temporary spot at a stranger's dinner table. You made your choice. The surgeon spoke up next, his voice professional and unyielding, driving the final nail into Jackson's desperate hopes. The surgical window has expired completely during this confrontation. The delay has elevated the patient's mortality risk to critical levels. Even if you sign the consent now, the procedure cannot commence safely. Your intervention has already caused irreparable harm. Jackson's phone buzzed loudly in his pocket. He fumbled it out, his shaky fingers fumbling with the screen. The new family group chat bloomed with messages, his wife and her relatives demanding his immediate arrival, mocking him for dallying with his old, worthless father's medical issues. The messages were the final blow to his faltering sanity. He realized in that moment that he had abandoned a father who had given him everything for a family that saw him as nothing more than a status accessory. Please, he began, turning back to me, his pride completely shattered, tears streaming down his face. I'll cut ties with them. I'll stay by your side every day. I'll make it right. Just give me back my inheritance. I did not blink. I did not shift my gaze. I did not acknowledge his pleas. I turned my head to RD, the hospital security intercom mounted on the wall, and spoke to Shah RP. Final words: remove him. Two uniformed hospital security officers entered the operating theater with disciplined, fast steps. They flanked a sobbing, resistless Jackson, gripping his upper arms firmly to escort him from the premises. His shouts and pleas for mercy echoed down the hallway as the doors slammed shut behind him, sealing him out of my life permanently. The theater returned to a calm, focused hush. The medical staff resumed their preparations, adjusting monitors and resetting surgical equipment to adapt to my elevated risk status. Ella R.A. folded the fully executed legal documents neatly and slid them back into the notarized envelope. Her movements methodical and precise, free of any personal emotion. Only when the room clear of chaos did she reveal the full truth of her presence, a truth Jackson had never once suspected during his arrogant betrayal. My engagement to Jackson was never a romantic commitment, she stated in a low, professional tone, only for my EARS. IT was a proactive surveillance assignment you authorized 16 months ago. You tasked me with monitoring his character evolution as he became embroiled in high social circles and new family politics. I nodded faintly, my body still drained by cardiac strain, my mind RP and Clea R. I had seen Jackson's growing entitlement and disloyalty long before his public betrayal. I had placed Ella R.A. in his life as a watcher, a trusted ally to document every failure, every act of ingratitude, every choice that prioritized selfish ambition over family. I documented every instance of his abandonment. Ella R.A. continued. His constant public dismissals of your health struggles, his excessive spending of your funds to impress his new in-laws, his open boast that his new family's status outweighed his blood ties. Every record, every photo, every witness statement is filed and secured. You knew this day would come, I said, my voice still weak, but steady. That I read for it, she corrected. I drafted the disinheritance amendment the moment he announced his intention to fully align with his spouse's family and distance himself from you. I waited only for his irreversible public betrayal to execute the document. Ella R.A. had never been the spurned, bitter ex-Jackson mocked her for being. She was a high-level legal strategist and trusted administrator of my hidden global estate, one of the few people aware of my true identity beyond a retired local consultant. The medical team worked silently around us, respecting our private conversation as they stabilized my vital signs for the delayed surgery. Dr. Hale, the lead surgeon, approached my side with a revised treatment plan, his tone now far more respectful than before, having witnessed the full depth of the betrayal I had endured. We can proceed with a revised surgical protocol, he confirmed. We will mitigate the elevated risks and prioritize full post-op recovery stabilization. Proceed. I ordered simply that as the anesthesiologist began preparing the sedation syringe. Ella leaned in to deliver her next operational update. Her words cold, calm, and strategic that Jackson's new family relies heavily on your anonymous philanthropic investments and subsidiary business partnerships. Their entire social and financial standing is built upon your hidden backing. With his disinheritance, all ties will be severed. I let a faint, cold calm settle over my chest. Jackson had chosen a family dependent on my wealth and power over the father who possessed that wealth and power. His selfish choice had guaranteed the collapse of the exact status he had abandoned me to obtain while I underwent my high-risk, cardiac surgery. The public and private foundations of Jackson's new family began to unravel instantly. Ella initiated the first wave of strategic withdrawals the moment security escorted Jackson from the hospital, executing pre-configured protocols designed to strip the new family of every privilege they had taken for granted. The high social private dinner hosted by Jackson's wife's family began with over a dozen elite guests in attendance, all drawn by the family's supposed rising status and exclusive industry ties. Jackson arrived at the venue disheveled, teary-eyed, and desperate, attempting to hide his panic behind forced smiles and casual conversation. He immediately texted his wife, begging for a private moment to explain his mistake and seek family support. His messages went unanswered. His calls were sent directly to voicemail. Within 10 minutes of his arrival, the first financial shock landed. The family's prima luxury venue sponsorship, funded by my anonymous subsidiary, was officially terminated. The catering team packed up and left mid-event. The event security staff withdrew their services. The exclusive wine and culinary partnerships all pulled out simultaneously. That confusion spread through the dinner guests. The host family, once confident and arrogant about their rising status, began to panic as their serifully curated elite event disintegrated before their eyes. Minutes later, their corporate business partners began sending termination notices. Every small business venture, every social brand deal, every local investment portfolio tied to the family's name was tied back to my hidden financial backing. With a single strategic shutdown, their entire financial footing crumbled. But Jackson's wife stormed over to him, her face twisted with rage and humiliation as guests whispered and exited the venue one by one. What did you do? She SNARLED. Every sponsor is gone. Every deal is terminated. Our family's reputation is ruined tonight. This is your fault. Jackson stammered, desperate to explain, to defend himself, to salvage the new family he had abandoned me for. My father disinherited me. He took everything. I didn't know he had this much power. I can fix this. I swear I can. The room went dead silent. The entire family he had chosen over me read out at him with contempt and disgust. They had never read for him, only for the wealth and status they believed he possessed through his father. You're broke? His wife asked in a cold, flat tone, all affection vanishing instantly. You right into this family pretending to be a wealthy heir, and you're just a disinherited nobody? I didn't pretend. Jackson shouted, desperate and defensive. I thought I still had the inheritance. I thought he'd forgive me eventually. Forgive you for choosing US while he died on a surgical table. His wife's uncle laughed cruelly. You're not a family member. You're a disgrace. A selfish boy who abandoned his father for status and still lost everything. The final blow arrived when their family lawyer stepped forward with an immediate annulment and SCPA ration agreement. The marriage that Jackson had sacrificed his blood family for was terminated on the spot. Left with no wife, no new family, no wealth, no status, and no inheritance, Jackson stood alone in the wreckage of the dinner he had chosen over my life-saving surgery, 6 hours after the successful completion of my HRT surgery, I regained full consciousness in my private VIP recovery suite. The room was spacious, quiet, and ultra-modern, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire Manhattan skyline. My vital signs were fully stabilized. The surgical procedure completed with zero complications despite the relier delay and elevated risk. Ella R.A. sat at my bedside, her encrypted tablet open, displaying real-time updates across my global business network. She no longer maintained the modest legal assistant facade she had used for years. In this private space, she operated as my chief strategic operations officer, the second in command of my hidden multinational empire. For 3 decades, I had hidden my true identity behind the mask of a retired local financial consultant. I had let Jackson grow up believing our wealth was modest, my influence limited, my achievements ordinary. I had suppressed my global power to give him a chance to build his own character, his own integrity, his own sense of gratitude. He had failed that chance completely. All external ties to the new family have been fully severed. Ella R.A. reported in a crisp, authoritative tone. Their business ventures have collapsed completely. Their social standing is irreparably damaged. They face multiple investor lawsuits and sponsorship breach claims with no financial safety net. Jackson's status? I asked, my voice still soft from surgery, but fully in command. He has been completely blacklisted from all elite social and corporate circles across New York and Los Angeles, she answered. His bank accounts are refrozen. His leased properties and vehicles have been repossessed. He possesses no marketable connections, no active income, and no remaining privileges of any kind. I nodded slowly, no sympathy in my expression. Every loss Jackson suffered was self-inflicted. He had chosen status over blood, fame over family, and selfish ambition over gratitude that initiate full estate restructuring. I ordered, remove all bloodline privilege from my succession protocols. Moving forward, loyalty, integrity, and merit will govern all inheritance and power allocation. GLVED typed the command instantly into her encrypted system. Global BOA RD members are on standby for official announcement. All hidden subsidiaries will be reorganized under the new merit-based succession framework within 72 hours. Has he attempted any further contact? I questioned that over 200 calls and text messages. Ella R.A. confirmed. He has tried to breach hospital security 3 times to gain access to your suite. All attempts have been blocked. He is permanently banned from all your private, medical, and corporate properties. I turned my gaze to the Manhattan skyline, the endless sprawl of city lights representing only a fraction of my global holdings. I had spent a lifetime building an empire built on discipline and integrity, only to watch my own son trample every value I had taught him for superficial status. No longer would I hide my power to his ego. No longer would I suppress my legacy to protect his entitlement. The morning sunlight filtered through the recovery suite windows, casting clean, bright light across the room as I finalized the last of my post-betrayal protocols. My body healed steadily, my HRT now stronger than it had been in years. The life-saving surgery erasing the physical damage caused by decades of silent struggle, and my spirit-healed FA are faster than my body. The last week thread of fatherly sentiment that had tethered me to Jackson snapped completely, leaving only unwavering CLA righty and unchallenged authority in its place. Ella R.A. Dell.